We don't care.
On that news though, that's just come out, 120. There's reports it's going to be 100. It could be £120 million deal. Wirtz to Liverpool. What do we make of that deal, gentlemen? Massive deal. Ornstein confirming that they're the favourites now.
Bro, that'll be a serious signing, man. Because for me, like I rate Liverpool's midfield, but you know I always kind of mark it down because of Szoboszlai, man. I think Szoboszlai's been okay this season. He's been very key in you know what they've been wanting to do. You know the hard work he gives you off the ball, but in terms of on the ball, Wirtz is clearly better than this guy. You know what I mean? He can create better chances for the team, score more goals consistently from midfield as well. I haven't watched much of him, to be fair, like off the ball, so I'm not sure in terms of like how he is intensity-wise. Maybe you guys can tell me, but in terms of what I've seen from him on the ball, he's very good. He's very good, bro. So straight away, you're adding more numbers to the team, man. It won't just be Salah. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, I think that'll be a very, very good signing, man. Very good signing. Man City will be missing out. I know they're looking at Morgan Gibbs-White, but if that doesn't happen, they've missed out, man.
Yeah, they're getting him. They're getting Frimpong. They're taking over that Leverkusen team. Listen, I can't lie. I haven't watched a lot of him. Obviously, I know enough about him to speak about him, but I haven't watched enough of him. I've heard there's concerns about his G&A, though. Like, he doesn't have a lot of G&A since like January, but he's a very talented player. He's a high prospect. As in Madrid want him, City want him, and Liverpool want him. So usually when big clubs like that queue up for a player like him, especially for being a part of this Bayer Leverkusen team that won the league and went on an undefeated run, and they almost actually did the treble that year when they lost in the Europa League final. He's clearly a very talented kid, and he's pretty good. I like the fact that they're going for a superstar for the future that is not a right winger. He's mostly going to play in that 10 role. And I like when clubs or teams move on from one star to another, not necessarily in the same position. We've seen so many teams for years try to replace a player like for like, rather than just moving what's the best next available thing. Like when Mo Salah leaves and all that the stardom is gone and the G&A is gone, you don't have to have the next best right wing back, the next best right winger in the league or in the world. You might replace it with the best striker in the world or the best 10 in the world or the best left winger. And it looks like they're trying to go for that. They're going for one of those young 10s that are doing very well. So it is a good signing for them. And Dunn said it well. That's probably the worst thing about their midfield is probably Szoboszlai, because he ended up being a bust. He's had a good season, but he never really lived up to the signing that they made 2 years ago. What was it, like 70 million?
He's a very good squad player, but you need better than that, man. You know what
exactly.
I mean?
And you know what it is, Don? I think his best attribute this season was him actually off the ball, which let's be honest, when you judge your 10,
I call him Hungarian Gallagher.
I was about to say, when you judge a 10 by he's just off the ball work, it's usually not a good sign. I'll be honest. I'm much more happy now to hear that they're going for him, because that means they're not going to go for Turkey, and that leaves him open for other clubs. And I'm hoping my team, for once, goes for a talented player.
I'm saying that if we get him, bro, we could win the league next year. You know.
If we get Turkey, I'm talking shit. I'm gonna say we got the better signing. I'll tell you that.
Yeah, I'm reading his GA from this season as well. Yeah,
it's pretty low.
Bro, 16 goals and 15 assists in 45 games. That's very good, bro.
Oh, 16, 15. Okay, so never mind. So maybe his G&A dried out in the second half of the season. Like I said, I don't follow the Bundesliga like that, but I've been hearing that he doesn't have a lot. I think he has like 5 goals since January, which is pretty low. But 16 and 15, I'm not gonna lie, that's still a very good return. So double.
You know, you look at the chances that aren't getting converted that maybe he's creating, and you've
I also think
they're a much better team now, so I expect his G&A to go up a little bit from there.
They didn't lose a lot, but I watched Bayern quite a lot in the second half of Bayer Leverkusen in the second half of last season, because suddenly all this hype came out about, oh my god, they could go unbeaten, and so I started watching them. Really, really impressed. This year, I think an outsider looking in, and I'd love to hear from a Leverkusen fan if I'm somewhere near the money. It felt about midway through the season, they all knew their manager was going to go. Tar isn't going to sign a new deal. Wirtz was going to leave. Frimpong was going to go. There was almost this sort of realization that this really plucky, skillful, dangerous team that had kind of been built over a few years, this is the last hurrah, like the final tour of a band. And it's sort of, when I watched some of their games this year, it was just there was a slight edge missing. Does that make sense? So that's why if I was a Liverpool fan, I wouldn't be looking at the last 4 or 5 months of output and going, that's a major concern. I just think there was almost this resignation of, we're probably not going to catch Bayern Munich now. You know we're not going to be together next. There's something that just felt a little bit off watching them compared to last year, if that makes sense. But Wirtz in himself, listen, I have to take my hat off to Liverpool. Frimpong, I think, could be a great signing. Kirkes, we know how excellent he looks. This young man is, and I heard a Liverpool fan tweet or say this. He said that we very rarely sign genuine, bona fide wonder kids. That universally people go, fuck me, that's a good signing when they're young. And this is a phenomenal bit of business if they pull it off. The report is 120 million that I read in Germany. And knowing Liverpool, though, I bet it's cheaper. I bet it ends up being cheaper and they can pay it over about 38 years or something. They'll end up making this a really workable deal for them as well. So I'm not going to lie. I am very, very, very jealous, exceedingly jealous of this deal. You add it to a team that's already champions of England. We spoke about this a few months ago about just who's going to be the favourites going into next season. As of right now, and things can always change, it's Liverpool. And they're clear right now as favourites because I'm going by the signings. They're improving everything. They're going to be even better next year with these signings. And they're still looking at a striker. They're still looking at, now's an interesting one. The Šeško, I know their fans are not too keen on him. Now they're buying, they're looking at the Lap maybe. They could even move for Gyökeres, who isn't particularly expensive. They could maybe sign Gyökeres and Wirtz for the same money as Newcastle wanted for Isak. And then for me, that's better business. Better business. I mean, I doubt the only good thing, I suppose, to Newcastle is, do you reckon it stops them going for Isak now? Do you think that ends any hope financially of doing that?
Yeah, for them to spend 120 on Wirtz and then 150 on Isak, I don't see that happening. I don't think that's realistic to expect. But it's good to see him actually showing intent because, under Klopp, they broke that duck of not winning the Premier League. They finally won it. Now, for them, the next thing is defending the Premier League. That's the next thing. And for them to not have spent last summer, they need to really show their intent. But I think spending, nearly 300 mil on two players is probably a step too far. But they can spend 300 to 400, maybe 500 over the pitch.
500 M's.
They didn't spend last year. When you look at it, they've won the Premier League. You know what I mean? I think they should.
They made a profit last year, Don. Don't forget that. They ended the summer with a profit. A team won the league after ending the summer in a profit. It's crazy.
When's the last time
this is why Michael Edwards' second season is always a worry, man. It's always a worry. He did the same thing the first time he was at Liverpool. He usually, shout out to Mike Das, he's been on this channel before. We had these conversations before, and he told me, he was like, that first year he came in, he didn't really make a lot of big signings the first year. It was the second year. It usually takes him a year to kind of analyze everything that they need based on the season, and they go and act for it the next season.
Linked with a Saudi job, though, that could throw us.
I hope he goes because this guy he's doing a great job for Liverpool. And listen, he's probably one of the best sporting directors out there in the game. But this reeks a lot of what he did the first time with Liverpool. When this is why I don't think they'll get Isak. By the way, they usually go for these players that are about to be world class. That's what he did with Mane. That's what he did with Salah. That's what he did a lot of signings of that team, and it's looking like it again. Because no one looks at Wirtz and thinks he's world class, but they think he has world class talent. No one looks at Frimpong and thinks he's world class, but they all think he could be one of the best right wing backs or right backs in the world. Going for those and then going for Kirkes and potentially strikers, this is a scary project, bro. And I'm not gonna lie, I don't really want to force them in this conversation, but this is why when people like Igao say like, oh, but like we're building a dynasty, we're gonna dominate over the next few years. This is why it's never granted. You never know what one club could do going into the summer. Because everyone was sitting there thinking, oh, but when Arsenal sign a striker, the league is ours next season. Boom, you come up with a team like this that now is getting a better left back, getting a new right back, getting a better 10, and potentially going to get a better striker. And then you find yourself cooked. So
they already create the most chances in the league as well, bro. But some of them, a lot of these chances aren't getting converted, right? They're depending on Mo Salah. But then you bring in
they won't have to depend on him now next season.
You bring in, for example, like in Mbeumo, like what you're saying, they bring in these players that, are on the verge of being world class or they have the ability to become world class, right? In Buemo, for example, you bring him in, that's more goals. You've got Wirtz there, you bring him in, that's more goals. Striker, whatever striker they bring in, can't do any worse than Jota up top, bro. Can't do any worse than fucking Nunes up top, bro. You know what I mean? So that's what I mean. Like, a lot of these people have a lot of Arsenal. They've got Arsenal blinkers on. They forget about other teams around them that are also going to make moves, right? Slot, for me, is a very good manager. And when we see him with those attackers, it's going to be even more peak, bro. Because I see how many chances Chelsea create. They create more than us. They create more than us, blood.
Yeah. Let me. I have a hot take, by the way. It shouldn't be hot, but I have a hot take. If Liverpool win the league next year, I swear to God, Michael Edwards has a bigger legacy at Liverpool than Jurgen Klopp. Because this guy would have left, came back, and built a new team and won without Klopp. Because don't forget, that team went down because he fell out with Klopp, and Klopp was the reason he left. By the way, for him to come back, get them these players, and win 2 leagues. That's a bigger legacy.
I really do think, Staffy, that the media don't spend enough time, and more so the ex-pros, maybe because they don't know, educating everybody that I know head coaches and managers are a fundamental and important part. They coach the team, they pick the team.
Oh shit, another bumper.
Oh, hang on. Let's have a little read here. Hang on.
Wirtz was in England. He was house hunting.
It said it on the
Wirtz was in the north of England recently to house hunts before potential switch to Liverpool. Should it proceed, not related to Man City, Bayern Munich have been informed that the player's preference is to move to Liverpool. And that, by the way, Fabrizio here, I big up, because he got a bit of stick recently, but I know Sasha, he's quoted here, Sasha Tavalieri, who's been on the Football Terrace many a time as well, that broke this news. So so Sasha tweeted that 20 minutes ago. Ornstein has just confirmed it to be true. Wow. Just really interesting. Do you know what is weird? I like him
right now. I want to know if he's FSG in or not.
No, not that. What's interesting for me is, strangely, Fabrizio hasn't copied either of their tweets yet. So,
this is why Fabrizio's always going to be second rate, man.
Yeah, it's an interesting one. Yeah, listen, I look at it this way. Liverpool fans, it's what FSG have done in this last year. This is why I talk so much about ownerships of football clubs. Pep and Klopp and all these guys, they're fantastic, but you need the right owners at your clubs. I think it was different 20 years ago. You had decent owners that would allow money to be spent, but managers run football clubs. Do you know what I mean? Managers run everything. You would kind of have CEOs that would help you, but the managers rule the roost. Are a different breed back then, a different skill set. Now, you need good owners that are willing to spend and take risks financially. You need great people like Edwards running the club, great analysts and great scouts that are signing players for your club and then are picking a head coach that suit that and marry it all together. And I still think the signing of the season that doesn't get discussed enough, and the praise should go to Liverpool and FSG for bringing in Slot. It's the first time we've seen at the top end of English football a managerial switch where you've taken over from a legend who has won it all, that's had them at a very high level for a long period, and it's been seamless. But it's seamless because they didn't build the squad for Klopp. Funnily enough, as you're right, they started to do a bit more Klopp signings and they were dropping off a little bit. But by and large, in the last 8 years, the squad was built for Liverpool. The team was built for Liverpool. There's a consistency in that, and they're now continuing it again. And yeah, look, I can't do nothing but praise them. I can't do anything but praise them. I want to be bitter. I want to be nasty about it. But there we go.